What's up, guys? Welcome back. Another episode here of Influenced. Great to have everyone here once again. Be sure to subscribe here on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you are listening or watching. Today we have on Katie. She's going to talk about marketing, branding within the Web3 space and some of her expertise and the things that she has worked on over the years and give us some insights and tips into how to market in this space. So, Katie, welcome. How are you doing today?
Hello, Brandon. Nice to hear you and nice to see you. Thanks for inviting. Today I'm having a great day. I'm happy to be here and ready to start. And hello, guys.
So, Katie, tell us a little bit about maybe yourself. I'm sure people would love to know a little bit more about your backgrounds, maybe how you got inspired to be in the marketing side of this space. Also, why Web3 versus another industry? There's a lot of different industries out there that you can choose from. Is it the excitement and the fast-pacedness of Web3? Is it the technology side? What are some of the things that interest you and kind of got you inspired to be in marketing and in Web3?
To start, basically, I can say I started international relations, but the part of my studies was a PR. So basically what I started it was like a government PR initially, but I think it's kind of gave me that push into maybe ability to communicate effectively across the cultures, because you have to be flexible, and you have to understand different people behavior and all of this stuff. Is also psychology there and all of these things, and I think it's actually kind of essential thing in marketing as well, to understand people well, what they want, and so I think it was number one step. The second step, I was working with my dad. It's like a completely different thing from Web3. He had a restaurant and he asked me to help to run the restaurant. It was a bit weird period of my life, but still it was kind of interesting because you had to to build the brand, to market it as well, to to have a social media, to do some stuff, and so it's another thing. And the Web3, well, I started in Web3 like 2017, but not working firstly. But I started to read about everything, and I got really into Polkadot. Honestly, just because one of my best friends, he started to work in parity technologies, and he was like all the time, "Oh my God, Polkadot, it's so cool, and read this, you have to invest in crypto." And I was so skeptical about this, firstly, but later on, I kind of it was I don't know, maybe he gave me that push or something.
That push, yeah, that peer pressure.
Yeah, and it's when someone is so impressed about something and he's glowing inside, and you're kind of want to catch this energy at the same time. So and I remember I went to some crypto party with the parity team in Berlin, and it was really cool, and I was like, oh my God, I want to be in crypto. And I remember this time I met some guys from Kraken, and we were talking about oh my God, I forgot the word in English. I'm just having Spanish in my head. Exchanges. Sorry. So we were talking about the exchanges in the crypto space and all of this, and I kind of started to dive deeper in the industry. And later I started in Gear, where I work now, and it's basically was created by one friend of mine who also worked in parity technologies. He was one of the devs, and he became a founder of Gear. So he invited me, he said like, or so you want to try, you can, start working like the community or like in marketing and all of this stuff, like at the startup at the end, you do a lot of things at the same time. So basically when we started, we were like maybe 10 people and now we're maybe 60 or something around that. So basically, we had to like build everything from zero, from what it is now. And now it has been, I think 4 years. So yeah, this is like my journey short.
That's awesome. That's quite a whirlwind experience going from government PR to working at a restaurant to helping, build up a Web3 company from bare bones to where it is today. Like it's quite a journey and wraparound that you've had. What did you notice maybe most about the Web3 space when you got into it in terms of like some of the challenges that maybe it's facing from a PR side, from a marketing side, from a branding side? I mean, there's a lot of unique elements. Obviously, it's a Web3, much more connected to their audiences and their users and stronger communities, and probably makes it easier for like branding purposes. But at the same time, it's very new, it's very niche, and it's very kind of isolated as an industry, because it's not something that is well established as being in, the fashion space or the retail space or the food industry, or, where, it's acceptable to, break ground and try new things. Even other sectors of tech like crypto is very wild and crazy, and is really pushing the limits sometimes. So have you noticed like any like challenges that Web3 is facing in terms of like some of those marketing and PR elements?
Maybe I think one of the challenges it could be trust and credibility, because
Hmm.
at the end I think there is a problem that actually I think nowadays people are not truly understand why we need Web3. And for example, for some friends of mine, then they ask me where do I work, I usually say blockchain. Well, they don't understand what I mean anyway. but but if I
Hmm.
say like I work in crypto, they're gonna be like, oh, so you're like them, I am kind of like I'm manipulating the market. I'm a trader or someone,
Hmm.
or I sell and buy bitcoins. I wish, so I mean, so I think people in general don't have that idea. Basically, for the free projects, they have to be like focused on to be transparent, to bring maybe educational content as well, and they have to bring a long-term value. Like for me personally, I'm not really fan of like the NFTs hype and all of this.
Hmm.
Well, it's not hype anymore, but like I just it could be fine for some of the mm, purposes behind, like, well, I don't know, like if you had like identity NFT or something, it would be cool, like, or NFT that proves you have some education or something like this. It could be fine, but all of this, like, mm, or meme tokens, I don't get it, honestly.
Yeah.
I prefer like all of these projects that really have value, that bring something or potentially can bring something into people's lives, or to have some impact. So
Is it like that stigma around the word like crypto? Because I've noticed that a lot too when I talk to people. Like I'll say that I work within blockchain or I work within Web3. Because if I say crypto, they immediately start thinking, oh, so you sell a
yeah,
token, or you're gonna
yeah,
tell me about a meme coin or an
yeah,
NFT.
yeah.
And I'm like, no, 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 no. Like crypto, yes, that's an element of crypto, but the industry is doing all these cool things. But immediately someone's mind goes to pump and
Mm-hmm.
dumps and selling this and rug pulls and
Mm-hmm.
crowdfunding and
Mm-hmm.
tokens and investments, and they don't really think about all the awesome technology that's being developed in the space and the cool things that are being built. So I even have to watch my words sometimes, or else people just immediately tune out and they're like, oh, I don't want to hear from you. Like
Yeah.
it's a weird stigma.
Yeah. It's true. And sometimes, I think I went to Indonesia, and the guy, the driver, asked me what I do, and I said I work in a blockchain, and he's like, "Oh, I lost so much money there." I'm like, "Do you know how to invest?" And he's like, "No, I didn't know how to invest, so I just lost a shit ton of money there. Sorry." But it
Hmm.
is what it is. But in general, I think it's a kind of a lack of overall education.
Hmm.
And another challenge, I think, um, regulations, um, because I think like the tough part of regulations is like the US regulations. They are really, really strict,
Hmm.
and you really have to watch what you are saying, what you are doing. Otherwise, like one wrong word in social media, and you can have problems with the regulations in the US. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if there's any stricter regulations somewhere, but so far I never met any. So yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
the regulations aren't too bad in the US anymore, thank goodness. I mean, a year ago it was pretty awful. And it's done like a full 180, so it's much more favorable now. But the biggest issues are still on a lot of the platforms. So if I wanted to advertise, let's say on YouTube or Facebook and Instagram um or on Twitter, X, they have different rules in their guidelines about what you can talk about. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, some of them are pretty archaic still for crypto, especially like places like Facebook and YouTube. If I mention in, my ad roll, crypto or cryptocurrency or Bitcoin, like it immediately flags my ads I try to run. And it's really difficult. And it's anyone
Mm-hmm.
that's, trying to, let's say they have a blockchain company and, they're doing XYZ and they're trying to bring users into their community or something like that. Immediately it goes to, oh, this is cryptocurrency. This could be scam related, fraud related.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just not going to
Mm-hmm.
show it. But if I don't put crypto and I put blockchain, they have no problem with it. Or I put Ethereum, they have no problem with it. It's very weird because you can kind of work around the problem pretty easily, but it's like one word, two words, like they're so hyper stigmatized that even in the advertising advertising side of the um, space, it's still a conundrum in the US to try and
Mm-hmm.
advertise on some of these social platforms. So yeah, I think that's the biggest issue here in the US aside from regulation. But I imagine elsewhere, maybe in Europe, that's probably an issue still too.
To be honest, I never worked with in Europe, like with the regulations in Europe, because basically what we do in here, that we follow the US regulations. And I remember
Hmm.
we even got like suspended the Twitter account for a couple of weeks
Hmm.
because we just said something about NFTs or something. And it was like NFTs use cases or something like this. Basically, it was like an educational content, but we indeed have problems there. But in Europe overall, I think I wouldn't say it that strict overall, because now, for example, well, I live in Spain, and here in Spain, a lot of banks now are starting to work with crypto.
Hmm.
So they are kind of trying to get into trend, and they are not so like, oh my God, what it is. So basically, I think it's a kind of a bit better.
Okay, interesting. You mentioned an educational element earlier as well. How important is that in terms of, when you're trying to build a brand and you're trying to build recognition around that brand and you're trying to connect that brand to a user base or to a community, conveying the right messaging so people don't say, this company, it's just selling a token, it's a pump and dump, versus them understanding that, the technology, there's technology there, they're building products, they
Mm-hmm.
actually have applications, these things are solving problems in the real world. How do you go about providing that education? Do you do that through content? Do you do it through video format like podcasts like this? Do you do it one-on-one with the community or AMAs, or is there a way to like approach that when you're starting a Web3 brand so that you can get it off on the right track?
I would say actually it's all of these points you mentioned because, well, as for me, I think video content is working the best. IMAs in a good community works pretty well as well. Um, Also the content, but I think like over like a written content and video content, I would say a video content is much better because, you know, like sometimes people they just don't understand something, so they just gonna skip it and forget about it. But if video is like super well structured or something, or some projects, for example, they launch like the academies. I know Polkadot did that. Solana did that, and like many more projects did that. Like, you know, they basically have like step-by-step educational programs. Well, I never done any, but like at Gear, for example, we have that, and at Gear it's just like, you know, like super easy guidelines to learn about smart contracts. But well, it's for devs, but initially, like if you're like a starter, you can, you know, jump there and um, start coding like from, let's say, not from zero, but from zero in blockchain.
Hmm.
So I think this kind of things also help a lot. But overall, unfortunately, you can do a lot of effort in education, but still there is going to be a huge amount of people who will only care about token. Doesn't matter your technology, and just like they're going to love you if the token is going up, if the token is going down, it's just like 100% hate, you
Yeah.
know. So, and I think no, it's for all projects like that. So it's just like the way it is.
Is there like a content strategy also kind of attached to this? Obviously in Web3, there's a lot of really technical terminology, things that people have never heard of before, different processes, layer ones and twos and threes, and so on and so forth. How do you convey that through content as well? Like, let's say, the platform you're using is Twitter. Is that,
Mhm.
best done through a certain type of post? Is that best done through some type of, again, video type content, or creating threads, or does this really depend on the platform you use? I'm just curious from someone that might be strategizing how to build that image for a brand, what you do in terms of a content strategy.
I think for crypto, the best ever source is Twitter.
Hmm.
Personally, I'm not a really fan of Twitter, but it's true in crypto, a lot of people use Twitter and Telegram as well. Um, and threads, yes. Also, Twitter polls are really interesting. And also, I think for the companies, it's really important also to engage with other projects. And, you know, like not from a part of the company, but like if you're, I don't know, if you're a founder, you have to engage to, you know, to some, with some different opinion leaders as well, with some different projects. You have to, you know, like be all the time and like you have to know everything, you have to be on trends and everything. So it's like also constant research. So actually you do have to follow the trends as well. You have to make engaging content, like asking questions or opinions or something. Otherwise it's not gonna be like interesting, because if you, yes, if you're right, like it's a heavy thread or something, people would be just like, oh, okay, this is not for me, and they will close it, and that's all. So I think the most important thing here is like start building um, a community, because once you get, let's say, the right people into the community, they kind of do this work for you, because at the end they start to believe in the project, and they are like, you know, uh, if something like token price goes down, and they will be there to support you, like in your socials and everything, so they help you a lot. So It's one of the important, like maybe one of the most important part in when you're working in crypto, like in some crypto project.
Yeah, engagement makes a lot of sense. You definitely want to engage that community that's there and probably draw them in and build that attachment to the brand, which kind of leads into another question I wanted to ask you, and that's about a brand's story or narrative. Generally, when you're branding, you want to find a way to create some kind of narrative around a brand. Like, what does this brand do? What's the mission? What's the purpose? What are they trying to solve? What are the problems they're trying to tackle? And for a normal company or startup or project, that can be a very simple and straightforward approach. And then it's just, narrowing down your audience. I feel it's a little bit different in Web3 because a lot of these projects and companies are meant to be decentralized and
Mm-hmm.
not to have a predefined narrative, which, kind of is, funny to say the least. And then you have a community that wants to help drive that narrative at the same time. And oftentimes you want the community to have that kind of impact and feel on the brand. Is there a way to balance that essentially? Like, is there a way where you can reach out and include the community in driving that narrative? Or do you have to drive the narrative and then let the community kind of take it from there? Or like, it feels like a balancing act.
It's but you're talking about, it's kind of let's say an ambassador jobs. It's
Hmm.
like, but usually what ambassadors do, they are kind of, like they are not the part of the teams usually, but they are community members who are like super highly involved into a project. They sometimes get some initiatives for that, but still, I think they are kind of balancing this narrative and this message. And, I think it's 100% their impact here.
Another thing I want to ask you is a bit of a different topic, and that's in relation to media and PR. I think we touched on this
Mm-hmm.
a little bit earlier. It's quite interesting because kind of like regulations, a lot of the media industry has kind of like pushed crypto to the side a little bit. And then over the last 4 or 5 years, that's kind of changed. And now, the mainstream media generally loves to talk about this industry. And um, that dynamic has definitely shifted. Is there a certain way or avenue to go about acquiring PR for a company when you're trying to announce a new update or mainnet or a new tool or feature, or you're trying to get into the news, you're trying to reach more people outside just social media, but maybe in a on a bigger network? Do you go through the same type of routes you'd go for traditional media for a Web2 company? Or do you have to do it in a different way or through a different route?
I think there's like three different options for PR strategy, or you can combine them. There is no problem with that. So there are like a crypto native media, like Cointelegraph, like Decrypt, like Defiant. They usually do like a technical deep dive articles, and they have a lot of credibility in the industry. And so basically, if you get an article about your project launched, like to start on CoinDesk or Cointelegraph, it's
Hmm.
like it gives you a lot of success. Um, Also, you always have like a mainstream media, everyone knows, Forbes, like Bloomberg, Um, this, I think, somehow helps to establish authority outside of the crypto world, because, if they're gonna write about you in Forbes, it will build a certain circle of trust, 100%. Um, and the latest, but not the least, your own social media. There is like Medium platform for the articles, blog posts. There is also LinkedIn, and in that case, if you want to, make your network and community more, for example, if you want to attract more developers, you would rather go to LinkedIn rather than some other, socials. So more likely you will find them there. Uh, Also, I think you have to build relationship with like a journalist, with influencers as like 100% must have. Also, I think 100% you need to avoid shilling your project, and let's say you have to kind of position a storytelling and to have like a story about your project, how what is its position in in the industry and things like that.
Yeah, I've always found that very fascinating about this space. It's pretty easy to find ways to get into things like CoinDesk and Cointelegraph. Like there's quite a bit of Web3 media out there now. Like there isn't really even much of a need to get into mainstream media unless you're trying to reach, again, like you mentioned, that particular audience that, is not in Web3, because that seems to be like, their base model. But on the flip side, I think this might be an interesting question too. If you're a Web2 company and you're trying to get into the Web3 space, and this is happening all the time now, where you're having like Wendy's wanting to create a metaverse for marketing purposes, or a shoe company wanting to create an NFT to get into the space, and a lot of them are doing things that are not necessarily like building centric. They're not solving problems. They just kind of want to tap into the technology and things that are being done. Um, and I'm sometimes it looks like it's hit and miss. And I'm curious, like, is there a good way to go about reaching a Web3 audience if you're a Web2 company?
Reaching a Web3 audience if you are in Web2.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting. But I think it's rather works a way around, because I don't think people from Web3 will go to Web2. Like
Probably not. A lot of
I
these
think
Web2 companies, yeah,
I
like
would. I don't want to leave Web3. Like,
let me
well,
give
I'm
you an
now.
example. So like Adidas, for example, very popular brand. A lot of people love Adidas. I love Adidas. They did a lot of different NFT and metaverse type stuff to try and attract a Web3 audience. And they used it for marketing purposes to get people to check out the brand. And they did special product drops and collaborations with brands like Bored Ape Yacht Club and stuff like that. They incorporated a lot of different music artists and celebrities as well to kind of generate hype. They did a lot of this stuff back in like 2021, 2022, and some of it they're still kind of pushing, but I don't think it was really very successful for them because they kind of just said, oh, we're gonna release sneakers and they're going to be attached to an NFT and we're going to do it once or twice. And then they did like a one-off like collaboration with Bored Ape Yacht Club, and then they created like a mock-up metaverse for people to kind of go interact in, and then they kind of axe that project. I'm kind of wondering if maybe they just didn't have success with it, maybe they didn't approach it in the right way. But it's an example of a Web2 company. I guess Adidas could be considered Web2, trying to access a Web3 audience, which is very large and niche at this point. Again, I don't know if they really had much success with it, but if you were
Yeah, I
doing
heard of it.
yeah,
I
if you
heard
were
of it.
doing like the branding or the marketing or PR for a Web2 company like that that wanted to tap into the Web3 industry, is there a way that you would go about it personally in terms of handling how they approach it?
I think it really depends on that the company does. For example, like if it's a brand like Adidas, basically you cannot do much apart of the NFTs. Or you can just like make one jacket and make it NFT. But at the same time, it kind of doesn't make sense, because I personally think it doesn't. If it's gonna be like some T-shirt that was worn by Vitalik and someone would make it NFT, so it will have success. Otherwise, it's not. I don't think it makes a lot of sense from my point of view.
Is it just
Or
not
maybe
enough value there that they're offering?
probably it's just like such a basic thing. But like I told you before, I'm not really
Hmm.
huge fans of NFTs if they don't make any sense.
Hmm.
And for me personally, it wouldn't have any value. It's like I own some sneakers and
I
they
agree.
are NFT, like what? I'm gonna throw them away in, I don't know, in a year or two. It's just like, so probably I would rather say it could be a waste of money for a company. Like
Hmm.
another thing, if a Web2 company is like they are building something and they want to jump into blockchain and attract blockchain devs, like to, I don't know, to help them to migrate from Web2 to Web3. It's another thing. But in this particular case, I think they couldn't do much. I think Solana also did that with someone, and it was also so like, I don't know. But
Yeah.
maybe for music it could work, like
How could it work
for
for music?
like make NFTs for songs, and like they sell vinyl, so it could
Hmm.
be a similar thing, for example, and maybe it could have some value, but also it's just like, for someone yes, for someone no.
Hmm.
Personally, I would rather have a vinyl.
Like an NFT album,
No,
kind of per
no,
se, or what?
no, like real, 100% real.
Oh, okay. I can tell you don't like NFTs.
No, I mean, no, I mean, like a personal NFT, it would be like super cool. Like, imagine if
Hmm.
let's say, like your passport, your identity, like everyone knows who you are, and it also can use like cool technologies like ZK or something, and all of
Hmm.
this. I think this is cool. It also can prove that your work experience, your education experience, like also, like, I don't know, you can make a kind of a LinkedIn similar application, like based on NFTs with all of your records and all of this stuff.
Hmm.
Also could be cool option. But like using NFTs for some subjects that don't really have much value, I don't know. I personally, I don't understand that.
I think NFTs were done incorrectly. I think that's the biggest problem because I do think that they can have a lot of utility and a lot of value. It's just unfortunate because they blew up in 2021 as these
Mm-hmm.
fancy pictures selling for millions of dollars, and it was so
Yeah.
stupid. And it kind of
Mm-hmm.
ruined the whole narrative of what an NFT is. Now it's like when I say NFT, it's almost as bad as if I say crypto or cryptocurrency,
Meme
um,
coin, a Dodge.
or meme coin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, which is very unfortunate because you could use it for so many things. It's in the name too, non-fungible. It's a unique
Mm-hmm.
identifier. It's used in DIDs. It's used in identifying certain assets or third-party marketplaces. I
Yeah.
believe there's been a lot of very wealthy brands that have been looking to use NFTs for anti-counterfeiting and kind of stuff like that to kind of protect their items and might provide more value to their authenticity and originality, and also having a degree of provenance, knowing where they came from, exactly where they came from, and who made them. I still think there's a lot of value there. It's just unfortunate that the whole NFT space went the wrong direction and tried to overhype it, and so many people lost money. I don't know. Maybe there's an opportunity there in the future for it. Moving on from NFTs, there's other technologies I want to chat with you about too, specifically in regards to marketing. I'm curious, like, if there's any tech that you use, like on a daily basis, when you're trying to do PR. Do you use a certain platform or software when you're branding and creating content? Do you leverage certain tools or platforms as well? Like, what do those kind of look like for you?
Oh, well, I use ClickUp. I use Typefully, Notion. Also, sometimes I use AI to help me to bring me like some ideas or something. It could be really, really helpful. For Twitter, I would say it's Typefully. It's really easy to schedule some posts and everything. Also for Twitter, there's Fedica that helps you like to track the engagements and all of this stuff. So it's the kind of the tools I use. Nothing else comes to my mind so far. But I
What
think
types of
it's a bunch of them.
I bet I use a bunch of them too. In terms of like AI and LLMs, like, is there one in particular that you like more than another? They're fantastic for trying to save time and get more done, and streamlining processes and making things more simple. Do you use like, do you prefer like ChatGPT or Gemini or Meta AI or something more specific? There's a lot of them now.
Oh, well, honestly, I almost all the time use GPT. Like I tried the different ones, like a DeepSeek as well, and Gemini. I didn't like it. Um, I want to use like a mid journey, but I kind of so far was lazy to start, you know. But I'm not a graphic designer, so
Sure.
basically I don't need it. Just like for curiosity, I would use it. But I think most things you can like do with GPT, it can help a lot if you know how to, let's say, communicate with it. You can
Mhm.
it can be really helpful in not only in work but in everyday life as well. 100%
Interesting.
GPT.
Do you use any like scheduling tools for content to like save time and to kind of get ahead of things, or do you kind of just do things as you go?
For scheduling, like for Twitter, Typefully,
Hmm.
uh, and the other content. So basically, I use ClickUp like to set the deadlines and all of this stuff. So it's easier, and it's not only can be used for marketing, like for any kind of purposes. Like you can create tasks, subtasks, and everything, and it's all transparent and pretty easy to use. So this one helps a lot, and I think like you can somehow connect ClickUp with your API and make your own workspace with like a particular things, but I'm not sure how to do that. I
Hmm.
think we have something like that at Gear, but I'm not sure. I'm not working in the workflow, with the devs, so I don't know how they do it. But they also use ClickUp for work.
Last question I want to ask you is in regards, it's more like a regional question. Is it different or more difficult or similar marketing to the US versus marketing to a place, let's say like Europe, or to marketing in Asia? I'm just kind of wondering if like the demographic of an American versus a European is different when you're trying to reach them and get them to engage with the platform or try to get them to follow or to like something or to comment something or to join a community. Do they think differently? Do they react differently online, or are they more similar than people would imagine they would be?
I would say Europe and US, like if we are not talking about regulations, I would say people are pretty much the same, like the reactions and everything. But if we talk about Asia, it's like 100% different world. And you have to find like a different approach. So that's why I think most of the project has like our Asian community managers, because they really do have like a very different culture.
Hmm.
And probably, like for example, in countries like China, there is so many people, and they have like all the time find them, like they have to fight like to find a job, to find the best spot at the job. They are really oriented on like making money. And of course, like people in the US and Europe too, but I think we are more calm about that
Hmm.
overall, because maybe there is less competition. But it's just like my point of view. But overall, it's like a cultural difference, rather than, if we're not talking about regulatory difference. So yeah, the culture really differs from country to country. Like in Europe, of course, like there is like different countries, but overall culture is still the same. Like in the US has a similar culture as well. And
Hmm. Yeah, I can imagine that. I live in Colombia right now. I'll be heading back to the US relatively soon, but the culture differences are enormous in terms of, how they approach certain things. Like you're talking about like
Mhm.
working and making money, like in Asian culture, that is, top of mind. That's something they're very focused on all the time. Living in Latin America, the people here are very much more day to day, live life, all is
Yeah.
good, do whatever. have fun, go party. Like the mentality is different, and
Mm-hmm.
they're on all the same social media platforms and whatnot, just in Spanish, and they use all the same stuff, you know, X and Instagram and YouTube, and they consume a lot of the same stuff, and they react very similarly online. But like I can notice like some of the cultural preferences for certain things. Like if I were to advertise for like a Web3 based job, like I wanted, like let's say I wanted to hire someone to manage the podcast, right? For Blockhash. It'd be very easy for me to do that in the US because everyone's very work oriented and everyone's always looking, you know, for those types of things, even remotely. In Colombia, it's a little bit more different in terms of maybe how you would approach that process, just because of how people think of work in their daily lives. So it's a little bit more complicated. So I imagine like there's some areas like you're mentioning where people are very similar online and how they interact, and then other areas, especially culturally, you know, you can really feel those differences. Maybe it's just what you're trying to advertise. Maybe it's just what you're trying to, you know, stimulate
Mm-hmm.
engagement from. But it is kind of a mixed bag.
I know actually in Asia, like regarding Web3 memes are like, wow. I don't know
They like
why, but
memes.
yeah, a lot. And it was really surprising for me. I mean, we do all of us like memes, but like
Hmm.
I don't know, like all of this meme coins and all of this stuff, they do like it a lot. But well, as far as I know, but maybe I'm wrong as well. I don't know.
You might be onto something there. I set up Red Note, that app that was like going to be like the refugee app for people leaving TikTok in the US when TikTok was going to get banned. Have you heard of Red Note? Do you know what it is? Check it out. It's kind of like a TikTok slash Instagram hybrid app. It's pretty cool. And it has a large like Chinese based audience, but generally it's the audience is Asian. There's a lot of
Hmm.
Western accounts now
Hmm.
because um, people were looking for an alternative to TikTok when TikTok was going to be banned in the US back in early January. And then so a lot of people made accounts on Red Note, and Red Note is like actually owned by the Chinese government or something like that. So it's just really funny that people would run away from TikTok, something that is owned by a private company, and run right into something that is state owned. But I don't really care. You know, I don't have any data that's, you know, that sensitive in terms of a podcast. Everything I do is public anyways, right? So I'm like, hell with it. Fuck it. I'm just gonna set up an account on Rednote. And I started putting a lot of content there and episode clips and like different things to see like if an Asian audience would be interested in it, if it was
Hmm.
in like Mandarin or whatever.
Hmm.
And it was kind of doing okay. And then I posted like a meme video, something that I made on TikTok, and I threw it up for fun on Red Note, and it went viral like immediately.
Yeah.
And
Oh
so I
well.
kind of, yeah, and I was like, okay, well, I guess people in Asia really like humor.
Yeah,
So,
they do. They do. It's just like I noticed, like we have a Chinese community manager, and all the time she was talking something about like, oh, we are going to make this initiative like for Chinese community, and it's always memes, 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 and I'm like, okay, maybe they do have something with memes, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, yeah, again, it's fascinating. It's just a good example of cultural preference. If I were try to push memes on an American audience, yeah, Americans love memes, but you know, they're very work oriented. They want something that's educational. They want something that's tailored to what they're interested in or they're passionate
Hmm.
about. And then I can flip the script and do the same thing for a Chinese or Japanese style audience, and it just doesn't click with them. And then I
Hmm.
post a meme that takes me like 10 seconds to make, and all of a sudden it blows up and they start loving it. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but again, it's cultural dynamics are very fascinating when you're creating content or advertising.
The best memes are about millennials, for me, you know.
Probably.
Just like you read one meme, it's like, oh, okay, I can relate, like to every meme, you know.
Well, I think millennials created memes, didn't we? So I think we probably relate the most to them when we see them.
Yeah. But like most of them like burned to being burned out or something like, you know, everyday life and all of
Yeah.
this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the generation before millennials really would make sense to have created memes. So it definitely started with millennials in our frustrating daily life. No, but I find it fascinating too. Memes haven't been around for that long either. They started cropping up like 2010, 2011, like for the first time. Like, I mean, if you want to kind of debate what a meme is, because it's kind of like a function of something that came out of the internet itself, but it more specifically kind of came out of social media, which came out of the
Mm-hmm.
internet. So I don't know if there was ever really a meme before social media was established.
No, like maybe jokes or something. I'm not sure. Hmm.
Yeah, jokes, obviously, people have been joking about things
Yeah,
forever,
yeah,
but
but like yeah, like a
being
viral
able to take
memes.
like a viral photo or video and then
Yeah,
caption it, yeah, I
yeah,
think I think that definitely has only been around for maybe like 15 years or so.
yeah. Or maybe kids were like writing in a, in the books, you know, under the pictures, like "Haha, you" or something. Did you do that at school with friends?
Oh yeah, of
Well,
course. That's why I think millennials created memes, because social media cropped up when we were in like high school and everything. So I think that yeah, definitely it started with millennials just because of social media and
mm,
all that.
yeah,
Yeah, we were definitely writing down funny captions and comments and being stupid, and
yeah,
I
yeah.
think
You
that's
find
kind of
the
where it came
ugliest.
from.
Yeah, you find the ugliest picture in there like a study book, and you throw it to a friend. It's you.
Yep, yep. Those were the OG memes right there.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, this is horrible.
It is horrible. Okay, to wrap up the episode, we're going to do a fun little game called a rapid fire. So I'll ask you
Okay,
some quick questions, and you have to give me quick answers, just whatever's on the top of your mind once you hear it. So you don't get a
okay,
chance. You don't get a chance to think about it. You just got to tell me.
okay,
All
okay.
right. All right. You ready? Here we go. First one is most overused Web3 buzzword.
Decentralized.
I think it's overused. The first thing that comes to mind for me is Win Moon or HODL.
Oh, yeah. Oh, when, yeah, yeah. Also, or then my net, maybe.
I don't know. There's so much, again, so much terminology in this space. Degens everywhere now, just coming up with new things, and it's one thing I hate about X is every time I go on, it's like the same thing over and over and over and over again. It's like Win Moon, Win Moon, Win Moon, HODL, HODL, FUD, FUD, FUD.
I still cannot say X for Twitter, and all the time I want to call Uber, I always click on X. This is horrible. As
They
for
look
me, it's a
similar now.
horrible. Yeah, as for me, it was a horrible step of marketing. Twitter was fine, you know, they could change whatever, but the name and the logo, why?
I don't mind, honestly, too much. I kind of
No?
like it because I know that he's trying to turn it into this app that can do many different things like AI and payments and whatnot. But the biggest pet peeve I have with it is I can't say tweet anymore. Like we're so used to saying, when you go on Twitter and you post something, it's a tweet. You're
Yeah,
tweeting. Like it's part
but
of like subculture now, and it's so weird to say I'm tweeting something when it's not Twitter anymore. So do I say like I'm zeeting, I'm Xing, I'm like it doesn't click the same.
yeah, exactly. No, it's just like you are now making a post.
Okay, next question. For community, what's better, Discord or Telegram?
Telegram.
What are your top 3 social media platforms for Web3?
Uh, mm, mm, Notion, ClickUp, and Typefully.
Web3 platforms in terms of like social media.
How many?
3.
um, X, YouTube, in terms of the social media, as well. Telegram's groups are fine, I think.
I'd probably chuck in LinkedIn too. I think LinkedIn's a pretty good place now for Web3, right? Especially from a business
Yeah,
side.
yeah. But just like 100% for business side.
Favorite marketing tool?
Um, mm, mm, mm. Notion.
Last one. Favorite Web3 personality?
I really like Vitalik, but I think this place could be shared between Vitalik and Gavin Wood. Some of the things that Gavin Wood does, like, they're really hilarious. Talking about memes, actually, like, maybe have you seen his picture went viral when he went to Mexico or somewhere, and he took a picture and he posted on his Twitter, and he had like a baseball cap and it was saying "Mamacita." Oh my God, it just like went viral in a second.
Oh
I like
no.
him a lot. He's a very smart, and he has like great ideas always. And it's really interesting to listen to him. And actually, his wife, uh, I don't know if she's still in Parity Technologies, but she's also like a doctor, and she's a super smart woman. Her name is Yuka.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if she's very public person or not, but 100% worth to listen to her.
Interesting. I haven't heard much about Gavin's wife before. Is she a personality too? Like, does she engage a lot on socials or something?
I'm not sure she does that. I think I heard about her more like from my friends, and when I read about her, like when I was reading about Parity, like back in, oh my God, 10 years or something. And she made a huge impact of building the company and stuff. And, she's, I'm not sure if she's like a doctor in math or something. I'm not sure. I just can't not remember now, but she's a really interesting person. And I don't know if
Interesting.
they're still married or no, but
Yeah, I have no idea who she was actually. But now that you mention her, I'll have to look her up and see if she's doing anything. That's fascinating. I like Vitalik too. I think it's funny how many memes are based on Vitalik as well, and how we all are, betting our life savings on this man. And he's like, super skinny and quirky and weird, and he's walking through airports with like little unicorn shirts and everything. And I'm like,
yeah.
does anyone know like how much Ethereum this guy actually has and how wealthy he is? And he's like the world's most popular nerd. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it doesn't get any better. Like, it's a perfect summation of what Ethereum is and what Ethereum has created. Um,
Oh my God,
but
I'm just like now working. We started to work with my friends. We want to organize ETH Bali.
mhm.
And I want to try to invite Vitalik to speak. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I hopefully somehow I will find a way. It's gonna be nice if we can do it. Because I think I would really like to talk to him in person, like for a moment, or but I would have to think what I want to ask. It's like in front of a president, like if you see your president, what are you gonna ask? It's like kind of, the same feeling,
Mhm.
like you have to prepare for that, because I saw him at a couple of events, but he's usually like so surrounded by the people, and you're just like, no, no, I'm not gonna stay here. I'm trying to go. I'm not
Yeah.
the person who's gonna be in a queue or crowds like to see someone. But
We've been going for an hour. This has been great. I appreciate the conversation, and thanks for giving us a little bit of a inside look and deep dive into what it's like marketing and doing PR in the Web3 world. It's very crazy as an industry. There's so much happening all the time, and it's so fast paced. I can barely keep up with it myself. I don't know how you keep up with it either. But it's also very exciting and fun, and there's a lot of passion in this space. So it's cool to, be in the marketing side of it, because I feel like maybe you get to be more creative and you get to try new things more, and you get to be closer to communities. And, that's something that's very unique that I don't think you get in a lot of other industries. So um, it's awesome what you do. Keep me posted on, what you're working on and the things that you're doing next in life. And let's do another episode again soon. Again, appreciate all the insights.
thank you, Brendan. It was nice to talk to you. Thank you for inviting. I really enjoyed the conversation. And, we will keep in touch 100%, and, sharing the insights and everything. Nice to see you.
Likewise. Take care, Katie. We'll talk soon.
Ciao.